So President Trump said the quiet part loud. He does this every now and then, and it's hilarious. He let everybody know who one of his real bosses is. His real bosses are. His real boss is. His real boss are. His real boss is. I barely know how to speak, and I'm a talk show host. But anyway, here he is. He's talking to Chuck Todd, or as I call him, Human Oatmeal. But Trump makes a pretty stunning admission.
This is a proxy war. Iran and Saudi Arabia are in a fight to the death out there.
You're right. And that's another thing I've done.
Candidate Trump, for years, would have said, not our fight. Why are you involved?
Because of nuclear weapons. It has nothing to do with oil.
So the minute you get them to do nuclear weapons, you want out of the Middle East?
I don't care about, well, we're going to protect Israel, but I have nothing to do, absolutely nothing. And we're going to protect Saudi Arabia. Look, Saudi Arabia is buying $400 billion worth of things for us. That's a very good thing.
You used to say we don't get anything in return for protecting Saudi Arabia.
You know that
you feel like they're now paying for the American protection?
I spoke to the Crown Prince this morning, and we had a great conversation. Yeah. I said, this is a very expensive operation. You and the other nations that we're protecting have to pay. And he said yes.
Did you talk to him about the UN report about Jamal Khashoggi?
I did not, because it really didn't come up in that discussion. I called about one reason.
I understand.
I called about one reason. I didn't call about that. I called about one reason. There's a very expensive operation, unlike President Obama and unlike everybody else. I'll say others too, not just President Obama. You got to pay for it. We cannot, we just don't want to go and protect the Middle East and protect Saudi Arabia and everyone else and not get reimbursed.
So this is why you're overruling Congress and letting all these weapon sales happen in Saudi Arabia?
Economic development. End that, but economic development.
Never mind the humanitarian disaster that's taken place in Yemen?
1 million jobs. No, it's going to end. It's going to end. By the way, who's causing it, though? If you look at it, Iran goes into Yemen. They start firing rockets at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has to protect themselves, Chuck. But it's 1 million jobs and probably more. They buy massive amounts, $150 billion worth of military equipment that, by the way, we use their military equipment. And unlike other countries that don't have money, and we have to subsidize everything, so Saudi Arabia is a big buyer of American product. That means something to me. It's a big producer of jobs.
It makes you overlook some of their bad behavior?
No, I don't like anybody's bad behavior.
The United Nations said they'd like the United States to order the FBI to investigate Jamal Khashoggi's death and possibly MBS's involvement in it. Will you allow the FBI to do that?
I think it's been heavily investigated.
By who?
By everybody. I mean, I've seen so many different reports.
What about the FBI?
Here's where I am. You ready? Mm-hmm. Iran's killed many, many people a day. Other countries in the Middle East, this is a hostile place. This is a vicious, hostile place. If you're going to look at Saudi Arabia, look at Iran, look at other countries, I won't mention names, and take a look at what's happening. And then you go outside of the Middle East and you take a look at what's happening with countries, okay? And I only say they spend 400 to 450 billion over a period of time. All money, all jobs, buying equipment.
That's the price. As long as they keep buying, they'll overlook some of this behavior.
But I'm not like a fool that says we don't want to do business with them. And by the way, if they don't do business with us, you know what they do? They'll do business with the Russians or with the Chinese. They will buy. We make the best equipment in the world, but they will buy great equipment from Russia and from China. Chuck?
Yeah.
Take their money. Take their money, Chuck.
Wow. So many admissions in there. So many. When he says at the end, take their money. Take their money, Chuck. It's almost like you're watching a movie and he's the bad guy in the movie and he's like, hey man, I'll look the other way. I don't give a fuck that the drug cartel is beheading children. Because what am I going to do? I'm going to not take their money? I'm going to take their money. Take their money. Take their money. You were somebody who ran on this idea of you being anti-establishment and you're going to shake things up. And you said Saudi Arabia did 9/11 and we can't trust them. Now you did a 180 and you're saying, I really don't care about all that stuff because I got a weapons deal with them. And that means job creation in the U.S. But more importantly, that means profits for the military-industrial complex who gives me campaign contributions. You are the quintessential establishment Republican now. You are arguing for the status quo, boldly. I like the way things work. I like the military-industrial complex. Take their money. Let's take their money. Yes, let's take their money. Hey, Don, we all knew that it was going to be hard to bust up the establishment. But when you said you were going to do that, maybe that's why some people rolled the dice on you and voted for you. But when you go in there and do a 180 and now you're the biggest establishment bitch ever, people are going to know you're a fucking fraud and a con man, because that's what you are, dude. That's what you are. Now, he says at the beginning, well, the reason we're involved with this Iran thing is we don't want them to have nuclear weapons. That's what the deal Obama and Kerry made. That's what that deal did. It made it so they couldn't get nuclear weapons. The IAEA was up their ass nonstop, regulating them, checking in on them. And in order, in return for that, so we get to regulate them out the wazoo and make sure they never get nuclear weapons. And what they get in return is their own money back that we stole from them. And Trump always portrays that as like Obama just gave Iran billions of dollars and like U.S. taxpayers paid for it. No, it's their own money that we stole from them. So think about that deal. We'll give you back your own money and you don't create any nuclear weapons and you get regulated like crazy to make sure that happens. And Trump ripped that deal up and now he has the nerve to come out there and say, well, we just want to make sure they don't get nuclear weapons. Utter nonsense. And then he goes on to explain more the real reason. Well, we want to protect Israel and protect Saudi Arabia. He just said it. He just said it. I didn't say it, he said it. Yeah, why are we maybe going to start a war with Iran? Well, we got to protect Israel and protect Saudi Arabia. Is that if you go tell a kid in Nebraska to go fight and die to protect fucking Benjamin Netanyahu and the Crown Prince, you think they're going to be willing to do that? Yeah, let me go put my life on the line for these murderous war criminals. Are you kidding me? He just says it. Yeah, we'll protect Israel, protect Saudi Arabia. People didn't fucking sign up for that. Nobody's in favor of that. And when he admits it, man, he says weapons deal. I mean, it's economic development. We have to protect Saudi Arabia, and they have to pay for it. So take their money. He was asked directly about Khashoggi. And what does he say? He's like, yeah. I didn't ask him about it because I care about the economic deal. See, it's funny because when you have somebody who doesn't really believe in anything, and he's empty, and he's vapid, and he's vacuous, second he gets a little bit of pressure from the establishment, he immediately sees everything 100% from the establishment perspective. You saw it right there. He's arguing as if it's like, duh, what do you mean? Where's the question? Like, of course I'm going to back a genocidal regime and give them massive amounts of weapons. Of course. I mean, we have a deal with them. What do you mean? That's the fucking problem, Don! That's the problem! That's the problem, and the fact that you can't see it says absolutely everything. And I can't believe he actually argued that Saudi Arabia is just protecting themselves from Yemen. He said that. He argued Saudi Arabia, well, they have to protect themselves. They are doing a genocide in Yemen. They're killing women and children and babies. There's a cholera outbreak. Millions of people are dying. There's a famine. They're blockading them. They're bombing mosques and open-air markets and hospitals. And he portrayed it as, well, like, Saudi Arabia's got to protect themselves. Biggest idiot in the world, and he's the president. Listen, we lucked out that he didn't press the button to actually bomb Iran. We lucked out there. And honestly, according to the New York Times, Tucker Carlson talked him out of it. So everybody should be sending a thank you letter to Tucker Carlson on the issue of Iran. Seriously. But everything he says here, this is 100% from the establishment perspective, and it shows you how there's no moral core there for Trump. As soon as it was explained to him how the way things work, he's like, cool, I'm down. Oh, God. Let's get Bernie Sanders in the White House because he's the only person who's going to stand up to this stuff.